Hi students, hope everyone is fine and safe. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to my new video, and today's video is about another interesting topic in 8051 microcontroller. We're going to see what are the different interrupts of 8051 and how to enable and disable different interrupts. In previous video we have seen the basics about interrupt, what is interrupt, how the microcontroller will serve the interrupt, all those things we have seen in previous video, right? So before coming to this video, I would recommend you people to watch the previous video so that you can understand the complete interrupt operation, right? So before starting the interrupts about 8051, look at this particular diagram which we have already explained. Interrupt is something which stops the main program, right? And it goes to the subroutine ISR, interrupt service routine, and it will serve the interrupt service routine, and after that it will return to the main program, right? And we have technically explained how this happens in previous video, right? And coming to interrupts of 8051, we have 5 different interrupts, including the reset. We can call it as 6 different interrupts, right? When it has 5 different interrupts, we can say 2 timer interrupt and 2 external interrupts. When we say 2 timer interrupts, it will be timer 0 and timer 1. And when we say 2 external interrupt, it will be INT 0 and INT 1. And one more interrupt, that is for serial interrupt. Whenever there is a serial communication, we can use this interrupt, right? We will see about programming the microcontroller for these interrupts, for timer interrupts, for external interrupts, for serial interrupts in subsequent videos. Today we are going to just see what is this interrupts is all about, right? So as I said, these 5 interrupts, right? Each and every interrupt have a specific pin, right, and specific memory location, right? So for 2 interrupts, for timer, we know that we have timer 0 and timer 1. It is a 16-bit timers in 8051. And for 2 external interrupts, we call it as a hardware external interrupts. We will mention it as INT 0 and INT 1. It will be in pin P3.2 or 3.3, right? And also, as I said, we have a serial communication, and there will be a single interrupt, that is serial interrupt, right? We will also see that in depth in next videos, right? So as of now, there is 5 different interrupts. And as I said, whenever there is an interrupt, what will happen? The main program will be stopped and it will go to the subroutine. It will serve the subroutine and will come to the main program, right? And as I said, this particular subroutine is ISR, interrupt service routine. All the interrupts will have its own memory location. You can see here, this is the memory location, right? This is the memory location for INT 0. This is the memory location for timer 0. This is the memory location for external 1. This is the memory location for timer 1 and serial communication, right? So whenever the corresponding interrupt is generated, right? Say for example, if TF0 bit is enabled, TF0 bit becomes 1. Then timer 0 interrupt is enabled, right? So then this memory location will be enabled. So what it will do is it will stop the main program and will go to this particular memory location, and then it will execute the information in that, right? And then come back to the main program, right? This is the interrupt vector table which I mentioned in the previous video, right? So each and every interrupt will have its own address location, right? And we can enable, that is, we can enable the interrupt or disable the interrupt using a particular register which is called as interrupt enable register, right? That is, disabling an interrupt, we can say it as masking it, right? And how is that we can enable or disable interrupt? By using the interrupt enable register, right? You can see here, this is the interrupt enable register where it is an 8-pin register. And normally, as I said, we'll have all these 5 different interrupts, right? And we don't want to worry about this particular bit. You have another bit which is called as EA, right? So this is for future use. This is EA. EA is something for interrupt enable, right? This bit is very, very important, right? And you can see here, whenever we want to enable, that is whenever any particular interrupt is enabled, then the corresponding interrupts, the corresponding pin will be enabled. What is EX0? EX0 is nothing but the external interrupt, INT0, external interrupt 0, right? And ET0 is nothing but timer 0 interrupt, timer 0 interrupt. And EX1 is nothing but external interrupt 1, this external interrupt 1. And ET1 is nothing but timer interrupt 1, right? And ES is nothing but serial interrupt 1, right? And ET2, we will not use this in 8051, right? This is used for a 8952 purpose, so we will also leave this one for as if now for the explanation, right? So you'll have only these 5 interrupts and consider only this EA, right? So whenever any particular interrupt is enabled, the corresponding bit will become 1. If not, it will be 0, right? And also there is something called EA bit. Whenever any particular interrupt is enabled, this EA bit also must be enabled, right? Only if this EA is enabled, the microcontroller will serve that particular interrupt. If not, it will not enable, it will not serve that particular interrupt, because if EA is 0, what will happen is it will disable all the interrupt, right? So it is very important that whenever any particular bit becomes 1, then EA is also must be 1, right? So you can see here EX0, as I said, is nothing but external interrupt. So this pin IE0, IE.0, IE is nothing but interrupt enable register, right? So whenever we want to enable the corresponding pin, we can use this pin configuration. Say for example, if we want to set this particular pin, right? Set this particular pin, what we can do is we can use SET B IE dot 0. This instruction will make this particular pin 1. Similarly, we can use the same set of instruction to enable any particular interrupt. And to disable any interrupt, what we can do is we can use clear, right? So that is what given here, enable or disable external interrupt by using this pin. And we can also enable or disable timer 0 interrupt using this particular pin. And we can enable external interrupt using this particular pin. And we can able to enable or disable timer 1 interrupt using this the IE3 pin. And this is for serial port pin, IE0 pin. And very importantly, we have to think about this particular pin, which is EA, which disables all the interrupts. So definitely for any interrupt to be served, EA must be 1, right? If EA is 0, then it will disable all the interrupts, right? And as I said, this is for future use, and this is for timer 2 actually, which is not for 8051 purpose, right? Where we will use it as a capture interrupt in 8952, right? We don't need this information as of now, right? So this is the interrupt enable register, right? And as I said, to enable any particular interrupt, this EA bit, that is bit 7, D7, must be set to high, right? If EA is 1, it will enable the interrupt, right? The corresponding interrupt must also be 1 and EA must also be 1, right? If EA is 0, then it will disable all the interrupt. Then there is no interrupt at all, right? So this is very basic information for 8051 interrupts. You will see this particular problem where the question is, show the instruction to enable the serial interrupt, timer 0 and external interrupt, right? And then what they have asked is they asked disable the interrupt timer 0 interrupt and show how to disable the interrupts with single instruction, right? So as I said before, like we can use set B instruction to set a particular interrupt, and we can use clear interrupt to clear instruction to disable the interrupt. Now what they have asked is they have asked timer 0 and external interrupt 1, right? They have asked to enable timer 0 and external interrupt 1, that is A, right? So we'll see what is timer 0, what is the pin. You can see here timer 0, it is this pin, right? That is pin number 1. And then what they have asked us for timer 0, and they have asked the external interrupt 1, right? What is external interrupt pin? External interrupt pin is 2, right? And now you can see here what is the instruction which you're going to do, right? We have to enable the serial interrupt as well, right? So serial interrupt is nothing but the fourth pin, right? So 1, 2 and 4, we got to enable 1, 2 and 4, remember, right? So we, for any particular interrupt to enable, we have to make the seventh pin also 1. So you can see here pin number 1, 2 and 4 and also the 7, right? So for first instruction, for first enable serial interrupt, timer interrupt and external interrupt in a single thing, we can able to do with this particular instruction. Set B IE.7, set B IE.4, set IE.1 and set dot pin. You know that second pin is for external interrupt and this is for timer 0 and this is for serial and this is enables the EA bit. Alright, and what is the next question? Next question is disable the timer 0. Timer 0 is nothing but we know that it is IE.1, so we can use CLR IE.1, which will mask, which will disable the timer 0. Right. Similarly, the question is given how to disable all the interrupt in single instruction. Very simple. We have to make the EA bit to 0. So we can do that by using CLR. Right. So this is very basic information you have to know about interrupt before seeing how to program the interrupts. Right. So today what we have seen is we have seen what are the 5 different interrupts of 8051. How is that the interrupt enable register works, how we can able to enable different interrupts, how to disable different interrupts. Hope this video will be very useful for you. Thank you, my dear students.
Thank you, students. Thank you for watching. கண்டிப்பாக இந்த வீடியோ உங்களுக்கு எல்லாருக்கும் ரொம்ப யூஸ்ஃபுல்லாக இருக்கும்னு நம்புகிறேன். Subscribe Passionate Professor and keep learning. Thank you very much.